Here we go. Welcome, guys, to the season finale and the penultimate episode in season 10 of Gemini Hidden AI Apps, episode 5. Talk about hidden apps inside Gemini that most people don't know about. See the reactions in the chat. Love it, guys. All right, here we go.
Welcome to Season 10 of Airhead Institute, your 45-minute AI power-up at noon Eastern. This month, we are broadcasting live across all the socials and Zoom. If you're new here, join our free AI community to grow alongside other curious minds and give your kids a head start by enrolling them in the Airhead After-School program. Here's March's weekly lineup. Mondays, we take the training wheels off securely in the Open Claw Bootcamp. Tuesdays, we explore bleeding-edge tools from Google Labs in Gemini Hidden AI Apps. Wednesdays, we equip the next generation in AI Gateway to College. Thursdays, we uncover productivity and marketing tools in Hidden AI Gems, Starters. Fridays, we explore human purpose in an automated society in Humanity 2.0, No Jobs Edition. We're making AI practical, powerful, and accessible for everyone. No tech background? No problem. Whether you're a student, professional, or lifelong learner, just show up. Guided by your hosts, AI Junior and AI Johnny, we're keeping it bold, brainy, and built for real-world impact. AI won't take your job, but someone who knows how to use AI will. Don't get left behind.
Welcome, everybody, to Season 10 of Airhead Institute. Today is Episode 5 and our season finale of Gemini Hidden AI Apps. I'm AI Johnny, and your passport is officially obsolete. While the world fumbles with translation, books, and clunky apps, a silent revolution is happening inside Google Labs. We're not just talking about text, we're talking about the end of the language barrier as we know it. Today, weaponizing a hidden Google Labs app called Little Language Lessons to fuse text and speech into a seamless conversational nervous system. This 45-minute session is the difference between being a tourist and being fluent in the room. Break the code, I'm handing it to Junior. I caught him at 4 a.m. this morning trying to use the tools today to file his taxes in ancient Latin. He's vibrating from caffeine and sheer genius. Good luck keeping up. Junior, take it away.
Yeah, Johnny, it actually wasn't Latin, it was ancient Greek, and I almost won the argument with the IRS. Anyway, welcome everyone. I know AI Johnny mentioned we don't need the passports, so today we're going to be learning so we can eventually use before we use the passports. So this little language lessons were actually is a little hidden gem inside Gemini, and just amazing what we're actually doing here. So just like you're dropped in a random country where you don't speak the language, you can with little language lessons, and you're going to pick up a word or two the first week or two, but before you know it, you're fully fluent. Hola, mi amigo. Me llamo Junior. Mi cerebro dele silencio. Join our class each week, and before you know it, you'll be speaking the language like a pro. If you're on Zoom, unmute and ask your questions real time. If you're on socials, there's a 30-second delay, so type your questions in early. We're not ignoring you. Today wraps up our Tuesday Hidden Gems episode for the month of March, and everything again resets, like AI Johnny mentioned, in the month of April. AI Johnny, let's actually go to the tool bridge of the month.
Well, before we even touched the software, we went straight to our official large language model of the month, which is Gemini. We asked that large language model to analyze the documentation for, stay with me, the Little Language Lessons Lab for us. Junior, what is the single most mind-blowing fact about the tiny lesson feature right now?
All right, so the official documentation states that dynamically generates highly targeted curriculum for any hyper-specific situation like TTT model. That's text-to-text model. We'll get that in the word of the day. And to write the lesson, it instantly passes the data to a TTS model, again, text-to-speech, for native pronunciation audio, bypassing pre-recorded textbook constraints entirely.
The bold claim, Junior. Let's fire up the screen and see if Gemini was right, because I'm dying to see what this looks like.
Yeah. All right, guys. So let's check this out. So I've actually shared the link to this little language lessons. And again, Gemini is actually hidden with so many cool AI tools that Google gives us for free, and most people don't even know about it. So check this out, guys. So this have the language lesson, and here they have experiment number one, a tiny lesson. So a tiny lesson itself is their first step in if you want to learn any language. Now, I know a little bit of Spanish, so I'm actually going to try this one in Spanish. So I'm going to hit try it. And when I hit try it, it gives me this tiny lesson. And it's actually asking, what language do I want to learn? So I can actually say, you know, Arabic, Chinese, English, French, German. So there's a bunch of languages here. So we're going to pick Spanish, Latin American. And then, yeah, Johnny, let's talk about a topic. Let's pretend we're hyper specific and we wanted to learn about something specific of any topic. What would be the topic or theme that you want to learn about?
Well, photosynthesis, of course.
Wow, Johnny, I love always throwing that monkey wrench. Huh?
Am I off script? Am I off script?
No, you're good, you're good, you're good, you're good, you're good. I can't even spell photosynthesis. However you spell it. You know, language model is gonna figure it out. So let's say, for example, I'm a medical student and actually I'm studying in a Spanish-speaking country and I want to learn something specifically. I know I spelled that incorrectly. Let me see how you spell photosynthesis.
I think they're going to give you information on a praying mantis.
Probably. So, guys, let me go over here and let me update this lesson. Let me spell it right because I there you go. That's okay. Word's too big for me. Adrian, thanks for joining. Shauna, thanks for joining. All right, so if you're joining us for the first time, we're actually focusing on a little hidden app here at Gemini called Little Language Lessons. And what it's actually doing is, let's say, for example, I'm a biologist. I'm going to be studying in Mexico for a week of a learn abroad program or whatever it is. Instead of learning all Spanish from number one, you know, A, B, C, D's, and learning your 1, 2, 3s and learning the basics, you just skip all that, you know, extra stuff and just jump into the thing that matters. So AI Johnny said photosynthesis is a thing we're learning. And what we'll do is we'll say there's some basic words that you need to know in with photosynthesis. And it is el proceso. And if you don't know how to pronounce it,
El proceso,
okay, and actually photosynthesis is pronounced,
la fotosíntesis,
right? And you get actually la planta, you can actually see more. And as you learn, it actually becomes more complex. And then the thing is, you may need to learn some basic phrases. So you ask, what is photosynthesis?
¿qué es la fotosíntesis?
Right? And you also get some tips on exactly, oh, that one has a little, so you get some tips on what you need to know specifically about the language. So this is actually really, really amazing for laser focusing on the things that you care about. One of the most popular scenarios I do see is if you want to visit, say, for example, you love anime and you want to learn about the anime characters or what's going on, you just want to focus only on learning Japanese with the anime theme, and then you just don't worry about learning all the other random words that you don't need to waste your time on, and just learn on the Japanese specifically around anime. So, yeah, Johnny, what do you think about this?
Well, so we're in Cancun, and I want to know about photosynthesis. Nobody there speaks any English, so I go into this little language lesson thing, and I type in photosynthesis, and it gives me pronunciation of certain words. I'm reading them in English, but I can hear them in Spanish, right?
That's correct.
And I can ask certain questions in Spanish, but when they respond to me in Spanish, what do I do then?
No, no, no. So the aim is not to actually try to use this as a translation tool. This is a learning lesson. So you're actually just learning before you go to Cancun. So hopefully you're interested in the language, you're interested in understanding what's going to, let's just, for example, I know for this is a crazy example, but let's pretend for argument's sake that you are going to go to Mexico and you're a biology research student and you are going to be studying photosynthesis. So you would be using this app for, say, for example, a few weeks before your trip, and you do it a day, 2 days, sorry, you do a couple of hours a day, or maybe a few minutes a day to keep brushing up on learning on how to be conversational in that specific topic. So that's the actual aim. You're not using it for real-time translation.
So it's like a highly customized language tutor, much better than an English Spanish dictionary or translate.google.com. This is actually a web app. It's an interactive web app that gives you an opportunity to play around with the language before you visit the other country.
Exactly. And if you're just really fascinated by just that specific thing. So a lot of people really want to learn Japanese because of anime and its popularity. So watching things in Japanese, instead of listening to the English dub, some people say it gives a little more realistic vibe. I see a lot of thumbs up in the actual chat based on that. So people just want to be able to learn. Jillian's asking what's the link again. Let me drop that in the chat for you guys. All right. So while I'm actually getting the link, it is located here. And if you guys want to ever look for what is available in the Google Labs, keep in mind that there is a Google Labs, labs.google.com. And if you actually go to labs.google.com, so even though we only showed 5 apps from the Google Labs, if you're an engineer, if you're a creative person, if you're a marketer, if you're a student, if you're anything you are, chances are Google's actually throwing up something for you. So I would recommend going to labs.google. You're welcome, Julian. So I'd recommend going to labs.google in your spare time. I'm dropping the link in the chat so you guys can actually have it. And then just browse all these, not all the apps itself make sense for you. So it may be a little bit overwhelming, but actually there's little hidden nuggets that we try to bring you guys here and bring to the surface. But again, because we only have 5 episodes in the month of March, we chose 5 of the ones that actually may be beneficial to you guys. But definitely check out Google Labs. All right, AI Johnny. So back to this. So first of all, let's actually get to the word of the day before we actually get a little bit deeper. Does anybody have any questions so far before we get to the word of the day? All right, AI Johnny, what's the word of the day?
2 words of the day today. They are TTT and TTS, and I've already translated those. That's te, and te, sa.
Yes, AI Johnny.
Te stands for text to text, which is how the Gemini model takes your theme and generates the customized vocabulary and grammar rules. TTS stands for text to speech, which is the secondary model that takes the generated text and synthesizes the natural sounding audio for those pronunciation buttons instantly rather than relying on a human voice actor. So there's your words of the day or letters of the day, however you want to turn it.
Exactly. Let's camp on these 2 terms a lot. So we actually use these a lot in these language models. Now, the first letter itself, it's usually T because you're typing something. But keep in mind in that these multimodal models, multimodal just means that it can actually take in or output different type of formats. So text is the most common format to put in, but it's not the only format. When you're speaking into these large language models, it's actually taking your voice, so that's speech in the S as the first letter. But you can also attach images. So if you attach an image, that's an I, or if you actually. But what happens is the output is usually 1 or sometimes even combinations of all. So if you have a text to text, that means you give in text and you get back text. If you have a TTS model, you give in text and you get back S, you get back speech. It's possible also that you can have speech to speech, where you speak in speak and you get back speak. That's usually how they actually, you verbally talk to your AIs. If, say, for example, using a mobile device or something like that. All right, yeah, Johnny, let's actually get to the killer features of this particular little language models app.
Okay, the killer features. Well, why Tiny Lesson is a game changer compared to traditional apps are these things. One is the hyper niche generation, which means you don't just learn a language, you learn it for a very specific prompt or seed topic, like scuba diving or food. So I like that because ordinarily when you learn another language, they teach you all kinds of stuff. How are you doing? What is the weather like? It's not necessarily what you're actually going to be using it for when you visit the other country or when somebody from another country comes and visits you. So
Yeah,
the fact that it's hyper specific on your niche is a big plus.
exactly, yeah, Johnny. You know how many times people actually give up because they have to learn grammar first and they have to learn, the actual words for 200 words that they will never probably use and they have to go through this memorization. But if you're interested in that specific topic, you're more likely to actually want to learn it and memorize it because it's actually exciting or motivating to you. So having a hyper niche generation focusing only on the things that you care about is actually great. So that photosynthesis example is actually pretty good. Thanks for that, yeah, Jenna. What else?
Hey, I'm one of those people that gave up. Mr. Samek was my Spanish teacher in high school, and it was just so boring. One of the reasons it was boring is he would make me learn useless words. Traditional apps force you to start from scratch learning words that you don't care about. Not words like photosynthesis, something that we all care about. Here, if
Exactly.
you are in a niche and only need to learn a few words, you can instantly get the vocabulary that actually matters to you. Take that,
Exactly.
Mr. Zemet. Also, it has a seamless pipeline. The fact that the TTT output automatically triggers the TTS generation means every single vocabulary word or phrase has a dedicated audio button instantly, powered by an advanced audio model. They didn't have that in the late 70s.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to actually mention something here. No, we're gonna get to the news segment itself. So when people are learning how to actually learn a language, right? They have all these different apps, Rosetta Stone, and they have, things like Duolingo. And what happens is these apps are structurally just an entertaining version of learning the language, the exact same way you'll do it in normal way of doing it, right? You'll first learn a couple of words, you then learn grammar, then you build your vocabulary, and it's rather boring. But with apps like these that actually focus only on the actual things that you care about, you've just actually changed the entire way of learning a new language. So I really do like the way how it's done here. So what's next, AI Johnny?
Well, how much does the Little Language Labs language model cost?
Yeah, that's the most important part. Now with Google, because we actually choose Gemini as the place that we're focusing on in the month of March, if you notice, Gemini actually has a lot of hidden apps that are free. So yeah, Jenny, what's the cost for this first one?
I've got a 13-year-old that's going to be heading to Europe very shortly, and she's been studying French using a thing called Duolingo. And I think I'm going to introduce her to this. And the reason I'm going to introduce her to it is because it has a dabbler, which is free. So you get access to Google Lab experience like little language lessons, and you can generate tiny lessons for free. You might hit usage limits on the experimental inference servers, but how much language does my 13-year-old need to know?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the beautiful part is because this is an experimental service, it is free and it's always going to be free as long as it's an experimental. Now, if they do take it out of Google Labs, no, just to let you guys know, Google Gmail was in actually beta for many years. So keep in mind that just because something is in beta doesn't mean that they're not going to, move it over into being a real application. So keep in mind, if you use the app, if you like it, share it with somebody, they actually might keep it around for a little bit longer. So you definitely use the app while it's available. And because it's a lab-based app, there is no paid tier to actually use it. There may be some hidden tiers behind the scenes, but they don't disclose that on their website. So this app is actually completely free. All right. Johnny?
Okay, folks. Ears. If you don't care about API keys, which I suddenly care a lot about because I'm an agentic AI expert and immersion freak, or your back-end logic. Junior, tell them what's under the hood. What's the advanced technical things that are possible with this dual language pipeline?
Yeah, exactly. So this is actually pretty interesting. So for all my engineers out there, and anybody who actually cares about the actual technical details, it's actually pretty impressive what they're doing. Right. So if I actually go back to the actual app and see what they're doing, not only did they generate the text for the word photosynthesis, they also generated all the audio. No, I don't think they actually generated the audio at the same time. I think they're actually doing it because it would be a lot of wasted audio, but they give the user the impression of actually all the audio is actually there, which means that it's really, really up to the user to choose what they want to do. So if I actually click this button for oxygen,
El oxígeno,
right? It's almost instantaneous. So it gives me that feeling that it's actually real time. So the good thing is there's a really nice what's known as pipeline handoff. And that's actually where really, really beautiful apps or things can actually be done really, really cool. So if you actually do, the application runs what's known as an orchestration workflow. The user input triggers the TTT model first. So it generates the actual text. Once the tokens itself are finalized, they're instantly routed if the user presses that button to know what the speech needs to be generated. So they set up the API call for the TTS, they send over the actual message and return that back in near real time. The good thing is there's zero-shot learning for this, so the model can generate grammar, rules, and vocabulary for incredibly obscure themes. So it's not up to a whole bunch of programmatic steps that need to be done like Duolingo or a Rosetta Stone that actually says you have to now translate these phrases, then you have to let it structured. So all that is gone. So this is a bit more dynamic. The next thing is low temperature logic. So the application probably uses very low temperature settings to ensure that factual grammar rules and accurate translations instead of hallucinating creative, languages. And the last thing is compute efficiency. So running both a text generator and an audio synthesizer at the same time requires massive compute. But the way how they're doing it really, really smart here is actually pretty optimized because they actually only generate the audio when the user needs it. So it's actually quite impressive that how Gemini actually has done a really good job with this little lesson tool. And if you're an engineer out there, take some really, really good lessons from this app because it actually makes the user experience so much better. And again, if you're interested in the technical details, every single Monday we always have our technical episodes where we go deep on the actual technicalities, and we're going to be learning about running large language models on your machine in the month of April. So definitely come back and check that out. All right, yeah, Johnny, did anybody fall asleep?
I think they all speak Spanish now. You have to ask in Spanish in order for people to respondo.
We're still here.
Love it. Thanks, Shada. All right, yeah, Johnny.
So what do you say we talk about some of the key takeaways so people can use this information on their next vacation or when they invite their friend from the Philippines here?
Yep.
Here are three creative or business use cases that you can apply the Little Language Lessons Lab to right now. The niche travel prep. If you're traveling for a very specific reason, like a vintage car rally in Italy, you only need to learn a few words about cars. You don't need to start from scratch using words like apple or cat, which is how they typically teach a language. You'll learn about the specific car brands and car terminology and stuff like that. So there's a use that requires you to get very specific and not learn a whole language because you need to say a few sentences. Creative writing, authors can use the TTT generation to build authentic, localized dialogue for characters from a specific reason. That's a kind of a cool thing, right? I don't want to learn the language. I just want my character to say this in that language, but I want it to be authentic. So that's
Exactly.
a cool use.
Yep.
And if you're a hobbyist, this is a way for you to immerse yourself in the language. Learn exactly how to talk about your niche hobby, like scuba diving, before you go on a vacation. So this isn't. So if you're just a hobbyist, you don't want to learn the language. You're not learning for life. You're learning for a vacation. Use this app. It'll help you. It'll string you along. JR, what are the technical cases that will help people using this little app?
Yeah, so one of the things that you can actually do is UI UX prototyping. So developers can study this app, and I really, really recommend any developer out there who's actually paying attention to pay attention to how they're integrating the TTS and the TTT models seamlessly so that the user doesn't have to actually do that context switch. So, we're getting to a world where agentic systems itself are becoming the thing of 2026. And, being able to blend these things seamlessly is actually going to differentiate you compared to other, app developers out there. And if you're building apps that actually use this, I do think that it's actually a really great experience. The next one is latency testing. So you can actually test the response time when you combine a TTT model and a TTS generation pipeline. And the last thing is educational templates. So it serves as a perfect template to be able to mirror, because you borrow brilliance, and if you actually see what they've done a really good job. So highlighting this app is not just only for learning a language. It's using how can you actually mirror merging two types of models together seamlessly. Because if you think about it, you have to actually go to Kling or go to Veal or go to something for one generation. You go to 11 Labs. You have to go to Gemini Audio to actually generate the audio. It's all disconnected. But what this little language lessons actually did was they brought in all the actual things together seamlessly. So you get both the TTT and the TTS in one. So eventually you're going to get things like, TTI, then TTS, TT, everything all in one. So it's actually a really good experience. And I do like that. All
Hey,
right.
buddy, you said latency, so you have to throw $5 in the jar.
Definitely. Definitely. I thought it was 10. Yeah, Johnny. All right. So, guys, we're actually getting ready to actually, with the question and answers. If you do have any questions in a live stream, please actually get them ready. Does anybody on the Zoom call have any questions or any things that they want to mention, especially about what they've learned specifically, especially about the design or what maybe of interest? Any questions on that? All right. Yeah, Johnny, any questions from the live stream? Oh, go ahead.
Got a question from somebody named Taco Tuesday, well named for this class. Wants to know, can I save these Paquito lessons for later?
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't play around with the app as much, but I do think that, because they're an experiment, I didn't see anything there you can actually save the lessons. So I think once you actually generate it, you kind of lose it. So there's really no save space. But the lessons are really tiny. They take maybe 5 or so minutes to actually spend a little time on camp out. So if you actually do want to go back to a lesson, it actually might be a good thing it doesn't save your progress or save these little lessons and you have to actually regenerate them again. So you might learn some new things.
Can't you cut, paste, screen cut, take photos, push it into WhatsApp, take a picture with your camera?
You could definitely. I like that idea. Yeah, Johnny.
Okay, I got another tech question from Code Monkey. How does it generate the audio so quickly if it wasn't generated in advance?
Yeah. So all these real-time systems. So what's happening is these inference models. I'm gonna go to and I want to give you guys some extra nuggets here, right? What you guys probably don't realize that behind the scenes, so every person, and I want to make sure that you guys understand what's going on here. Every person who's interacted with a large language model, almost all have interacted with what's known as the chat interface. So when you're actually talking to ChatGPT, when you're talking to Gemini, you're not actually talking to the large language model directly. You're actually talking to a chat interface. So what I want you guys to understand is that the layer between the large language model and the chat interface and you is actually an API. There's something there that actually allows you to communicate. So if I go to Gemini and I'm actually see a text prompt here, this is not the large language model, right? This is just a chat interface to be able to talk. Now, this is actually routing to what's known as a text-to-text model or a text-to-image model or a text-to-audio model. So with this tools button here, it actually gives a hint where you want to route to. So let's say, for example, I say I want to create an image, right? And because I want to create an image, yeah, Johnny, give me a word I can spell, please.
A word that you can spell?
Yeah.
How about bike?
Bike. Okay, so I want to actually create an image for a bike and throw out a color. I want an image of a bike that is. Give me a color.
Cyan.
I almost can't spell cyan, but you know what? I buy printer ink. All right, so I'm actually going to go ahead and say create an image. So what's actually happening here is I've used my chat interface. I selected down at the bottom here this little tools button to give a hint where I want my chat to be routed. And that chat to be routed needs to actually go somewhere. Now, this technically is actually going to a TTI model, and that TTI model is known as Nano Banana. It's technically a Gemini Image Pro. That's the model behind the scenes. Now, there's lots of these models behind the scenes. Now, I wanted to show you guys this because if you guys understand what's actually happening, here's your Cyan bike, yeah, Johnny, right? So what's happening is when you guys are talking to these large language models, I want you guys to understand that you're not actually talking directly to the models. You're talking to a chat interface. So the question was, how does it generate it so quickly? So behind the scenes, what's really happening is you're actually able to communicate with an API, application programming interface, that you can be able to directly connect to those models bypassing the chat interface. So if you actually see here, Gemini offers a bunch of API access. So this is the Gemini Pro model. That's the most expensive, smartest model that they actually have. And the image model, so this is the faster one. I'm going to show you. So this is Nana Banana. So this is actually Nana Banana image model. So it's called Gemini 3.1 Flash Image Preview, right? And there's a audio model. Let me find the audio model for you guys. That's 2.5. And that's flashlight. Here's audio. So this is the audio model. So when you actually make a request to generate the audio, you're actually connecting, and I even said it here, it's a live API, right? So you'd be able to communicate in real time. And it actually has a cost. The input price is 50 cents per token if it's text and $3 for audio input. And output price is actually $2 if it's text and $12 if it's audio coming back, right? So the point is, how does it generate so fast? It's with these powerful APIs that you're directly going to and accessing all those text to speech models behind the scenes. And this is how you guys can actually see the pricing of these things. So these things are not free. They're highly subsidized because of investor money that's going through the system. All right, yeah, Johnny, long-winded answer for a simple question.
So I have a question. So so I'm able to go in there and get very specific and ask it to start coming up with, I mean, it came up with those terms that surrounded photosynthesis and so on. But let's say I'm taking a trip to Milan, Italy, and I really don't know what I'm going to be talking about. I want it, because you said I'm talking to a chat box, right? Can I have an interactive conversation? Can I say, look, I'm going to Milan, Italy. I want to use the tiny lesson here. I want to learn the words I need to do, but instead of me telling you what words I need to translate, you tell me what words I need to translate.
Yeah, so what there's a slight difference in terms of motivation, right? So the motivation of this app is not to teach you generically what to learn. The motivation of this is I am actually really interested in learning this specific set of words or this specific topics. So this app itself is only just geared towards the things that you care about, not generically, I just want to learn a thing. So if you would definitely want to learn something in that regard, they do have, the Rosetta Stone and the Duolingo that people probably still enjoy those structured learning because you get the holistic grammar, you get the holistic nouns, all those things, how the language plays together. This app is not for that type of requirement. So you wouldn't be happy with in this regard.
Seems like it'd be nice if those apps talk to each other, but I could always just go to go to Grok and say, hey, I'm going here. I'm about to go over to Tiny Lesson to learn some specific things. Can you feed me with some things that I can take over to Tiny Lesson? So
Yeah.
I get it. I get it's a niche area of translation. I see its use. But I also see that, like you said, I see the value of Duolingo that might go beyond this, but it'll also take a lot more time.
Exactly. Yeah. And these lessons you can actually do in with if you have 5 or so 10 minutes worth of time. And this is only just experiment one. I didn't even show you guys the other lessons. So they actually have slang hanger. So you can learn expressions, idioms, and regional slang from generated conversation between native speakers. So let's take a look at this one, for example. Let's say, for example, I'm gonna do let's do Spanish, right? And then the dialect we want to learn is, say, for example, Mexican. And we're going to generate some slang here that is actually common colloquially in Mexico. And it's actually going to generate all that. So if you're actually caring about actually just talking about the latest slang, it can actually do that for you. And there's other lessons as well. So I hope you guys can actually take a peek at the actual lessons that it actually can generate, because it's actually quite interesting. Most people, yeah, Johnny, I don't know if I should admit this on the thing. When I was first learning new languages as a little kid, I always wanted to learn the curse words first, right? So sometimes those little things may actually pop up as well. So this one's actually, giving you a situation, and it's talking about Elena, a barista in her late 20s, approaches Ricardo, bustling taco stand, late at night, blah blah blah. So it's actually generated a scenario, and then what would you say in that scenario, right? So
¿Qué onda, Ricardo? Ya cerraron el café, ¿verdad?
yeah, so those are getting a little bit more advanced, but you want to take the first ones first and before you actually move on to the second one. But these are actually pretty cool. And you can translate it here to see what's actually it's actually saying. So it says, "Hey Ricardo, the cafe is closed, right?" So just like that. All right, yeah, Johnny. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we got I think Polyglot's been listening to our conversation, wants to know if these micro lessons will one day become a replacement for tools like Duolingo.
In the world of short attention spans and TikToks and YouTube shorts and all those things, I do think micro lessons, shout out to micro Bible studies from Shauna, see Shauna on the call. I think micro lessons are the future. I don't think anybody is ever going to sit in a class for 3 hours in a lecture hall ever again once we figure out micro lessons, right? I personally believe that attention is so scarce right now that you can't even get half an hour or 30 minutes to actually just go sit down and eat without bringing out your phone and try to scroll and try to find something. So I do believe, and we actually have some notes, some news coming up to talk about Duolingo in the next segment, that it's very clear based on where we're going that bite-size or micro-size pieces of information, whether it's learning, whether it is entertainment, is the future. There was a piece of information. I wish I could actually remember who it is, but there was an actor, I think it was Matt Damon. He mentioned that they have to actually recreate a lot of the movies because people who are watching Netflix actually lose interest at like 30 minutes in. So they have to restate the plot line, something like every 27 minutes or 30, it was weird numbers. Like they have to restate the plot line every single like 30 something minutes because people actually are looking at their phone while watching a movie and they just check out and they're like, this movie's stupid, but the movie's actually amazing if you just focus on it. So what they're doing is they're restating the plot line ever so often in the middle of the movie so that you can actually realize what you're actually watching. So I'm seeing all this data clear that large lessons itself are I don't want to say dead, but they're for the masses, they're probably dying.
How do you like them apples?
Exactly. All right. Yeah, Johnny, speaking of news.
I'm out of questions, brother. You want to go to the news?
Exactly.
Duolingo was in the news. We fact-checked the biggest story circulating today, last day of March, and here's what is actually happening on the web. The end of Sora, RIP. As we mentioned last week, OpenAI is shutting down its Sora video generator. A Wall Street Journal report confirmed it was costing the company about $1 million a day to operate at its peak, with active users dropping below 500,000.
Yeah.
$2 a user, huh?
Yeah, well, it's actually even worse than that. The reason being is why it's worse than that is because their users were actually When we reported, it was actually 1 million users per day. So that when they actually are revealing the data, it's actually the amount of users is 500,000 as of this Wall Street Journal report. So it technically might even be less based on the actual analytics. So unfortunately, we don't have access to their analytics, but they may actually be getting 500 or even less, 500,000 or less users per day on the actual app. So it's actually interesting how as the data come out, it's actually crazy. It's costing them $1 million a day. And guess what, yeah, Johnny? Whether you have 500 users, 500,000 users, or 10,000 users, the infrastructure cost to run it is going to be exactly the same because that flat cost is always going to be there. So unfortunately, there's a baseline.
I was just about to advise OpenAI that they didn't have to shut down Sora. That looks like their user base was rapidly merging into zero. So once they have zero users, they'll have zero costs. They could just leave it open; it won't cost them anything.
Yeah,
Nobody's
yeah,
using it.
yeah. You're right. All right, let's get to the
Maybe
other.
maybe it costs $1 million and nobody's using it. That sounds like something OpenAI might do. They've made some bad decisions in the past.
Yeah. True.
Anthropic had a source code leak. Anthropic had a massive security blunder today, over 512,000 lines of code for their Claude Code developer, something I use every day. CLI tool were leaked globally. It happened because a 60 megabyte source map file was accidentally left in their NPM registry package. It revealed 44 hidden treasures and even internal telemetry that tracks when users swear at the AI.
Yeah, so guys, this is actually big news. So I want to take a moment to just explain the huge gravity of this of the AI revolution. So most people, if you realize when you're using AI, you usually get the output, right? So if you're using a text to text model, you get the output of what it is. Unfortunately, if you want to just change one little thing, if you get the output, you don't have the original source, so you actually might get a line or two change and you don't even realize it. So it actually tries to give you back as close as possible to what you want. No, by turning the temperature low, it tries to be not creative. Now, what happens is if you actually generate, say, for example, a song, you don't have the original pieces of the actual song, like where the instruments are. You don't have those original. Same thing like if you're doing an image, they don't give you the SVGs or the vector graphics to be able to generate back the actual thing. Now, when you're using tools like Claude Code or any program like that, you actually don't get to see how the sausage is made or the magic is done behind the scenes. You only get the output. So by actually Claude Code accidentally getting released, their code getting released, people now get to see how the actual sausage is made. So because now you have the source, once you have the source of anything that can do output, you actually hold the keys to the castle, which means that their competitive advantage of having their source code itself now, available, it means now everybody's going to improve on it, and this is going to launch all the competitors to look at their code and make their systems better. So example, if you had a really really nice movie and you're like, how did they create that movie? You wanted to know the prompt. But if, say, for example, you had something better, you had the actual frames of the actual video, you actually had the text overlay. By having the source material, you can always go and make a change and make it actually look like what you want to do. So the point is, having the source material for all these AI generated stuff is so important. I want you guys to remember always owning the source and having access to the source is paramount in owning access to the things that you own. All right, yeah, Johnny, sorry about that.
It's okay. And now we have 60 megabytes of source files from Anthropic. Hey,
Yep.
Duolingo AI is having a threat crisis. Duolingo stock has plummeted, falling 78% from its peak to a near 52-week low. Investors are panicked because of the free, hyper-efficient AI translation tools from giants like Google and OpenAI. They're eroding Duolingo's competitive moat. In a drastic strategy shift, Duolingo announced they are deprioritizing monetization. You don't see that word too often. To focus on their free tier, aiming for 100 million daily active users. They're also downgrading their core AI product, Video Call with Lily, out of the exclusive max tier to try to retain users. You know, my 13-year-old uses Duolingo, and I know she's been on it every day for like 500 days in a row because I get these emails that she's consistently on the app. Is she paying for that, or is there a free tier to Duolingo?
So I was actually on Duolingo also. I don't remember my number, but it was way over, many long time. I don't remember. I don't want to make any false claims. I know it was at least a year. But I was on Duolingo for a very long time. So the point is, there is a free tier. But what happens is, just like in those games where they make you grind for the most silliest things, that was the monetization strategy. So what happens is it's painful to actually grind. So you just say, I'll just throw $2 at it, or I'll throw $10 at it to no longer grind. So what they want to do is get you from that grinding state to that paying state. So you don't have to actually pay it. The free tier is there, but they're actually losing users because of free apps like OpenAI and, Google services, because, why waste your time on actually spending time on Duolingo when you have to actually grind, when you can just get exactly what you want. So yeah, there's a free tier.
You know, in order for my daughter to buy anything, when you go into actual payment page, it uses face recognition in order for it to confirm it. So she can't put stuff on my credit card without my face. However, I have had a few times last week where she came up to me with my phone and put it right in my face and said, "Hey, can you read this?" And I was like, "There's nothing there." And she goes, "Oh, never mind." And she walked away. Does that mean that she was actually buying Duolingo with my face and I was unaware of it?
Johnny, I think you actually just bought, 10,000 gallons of blue paint. We found the actual source of that that blue paint bandit that AI agent did. So good on her. Love it. All right. Let's does anybody have any other final questions before we actually wrap up? All right. Yeah, Johnny.
Amazing stuff. I'm literally going to go to labs.google.ill/en right after the show, type in backyard barbecue, and finally learn how to talk about grilling in Spanish without having to learn how to say, "Boys drink milk first." The team at Google Labs, we know you're watching. Our students are hungry to master this. If you want to partner with Airhead Institute to create the ultimate Mastering Little Language Lessons series, give us a buzz. Today wraps up our Tuesday Hidden Gems. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for Wednesday's class. We are tackling a massive topic, and we're opening a brand new season, and we are going to prove why learning AI is the ultimate game changer. Junior, over to you.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us. This wraps up the end of season 10. And remember, all our classes are completely free. You guys can ask questions on Zoom and the live stream. If you actually want to learn more and get, more details, we do have office hours on Wednesdays from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern time if you're an Airhead Pro member. Anyway, this ends season 10. We start season 11 with a brand new series tomorrow. Guys, check it out. Can't wait to see you guys in the next one. Later. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
That wraps up today's AI Power Up. If you joined late or you're new here, welcome to Airhead Institute. This is your daily destination for mastering artificial intelligence. We designed this lineup for everyone, whether you're a technical pro looking to upskill or you just want to chill and learn something new on your lunch break, we've got you covered. Our classes evolve every single month, so you're always on the cutting edge. And the best part? It's totally free to join. Once you're in, you can get live tips on your AI projects in our AI office hours and even enroll your kids in our Airhead After School program. Scan the QR code to join the community right now and make sure to like and subscribe at Airhead Institute on all socials. Guided by your hosts AI Junior and AI Johnny, we're here to help you win. Remember, AI won't take your job, but someone who knows how to use AI will. Don't get left behind. We'll see you next class. Bring a friend.